Hi there, Anthony here at the periodic table of history. Abraham enacts a powerful prophecy over 4,000 years ago. Let's find out what that was.
Then he said, "Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you."
The story of Abraham offering up Isaac is found in Genesis 22. Abraham is about to sacrifice Isaac when the angel of the Lord intervenes. So that is why we know the story so well. It is so picturesque. We have the tragedy right there written into the story, and then what we know that is going to become a tragedy, and the angel of the Lord intervenes, and we are so very relieved at that. But it is an analogy and a parallel for what God was going to do.
And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, "My father." And he said, "Here am I, my son." And he said, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" And Abraham said, "My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering." So they went both of them together.
Now notice at the end of the story that God commanded to sacrifice a lamb, but then God provided a ram, not a lamb. So the lamb would be sacrificed later, and Jesus was born in a stable in the city of lambs. What was that city? Well, that was Bethlehem. That was the city just outside of Jerusalem, the place where lambs were raised up. So the priest would go out and select the most sacred, most perfect lambs to be sacrificed there on the temple of Jerusalem. Jesus was born in the city of lambs. So God gives us the visual.
Then Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son.
So when time has elapsed, as a reminder, God speaks to Isaiah. That's the prophet in about 730 BC, and he validates the story of Abraham.
He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth.
The Levites also of the city of Anathoth plotted against prophet Jeremiah. Now that was about 586 BC, and then Jeremiah prophesied this saying,
But I was like a lamb or an ox that is brought to the slaughter, and I knew not that they had devised devices against me, saying, Let us destroy the tree with the fruit thereof, and let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name may be no more remembered.
The words put forth there in Jeremiah are very similar to that of Isaiah. Fast forward to John the Baptist, that would be somewhere about AD 27-28, maybe 30-31.
The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him, and saith, Behold the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world.
And if that wasn't enough, then we have God himself coming down and validating Jesus with these words.
And there came a voice from heaven, saying, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased.
So there are clear parallels to these stories. Abraham binds his only beloved son Isaac, and God binds his only beloved son Jesus. So Isaac willingly carries the wood that would be used, that he would be sacrificed on, and then Jesus willingly carries the wooden cross that he would be sacrificed on.
So Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the two of them went together.
Something that is really striking is that God made the world, the wood, and all the people that would sacrifice his son. Now, Mount Moriah is the same place Abraham went to sacrifice Isaac, and also it's where the Temple of Jerusalem was built. It's where the Dome of the Rock is right now. So in this same place, the sacrificial lamb of Jesus was scrutinized. Since there was no guile found in him, the religious leaders resorted to bearing false witness so they could put him away.
And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and two other with him, on either side one, and Jesus in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title, and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews.
So Jesus was crucified within a mile of the same site that Abraham offered his son Isaac on. Let's look at that on the periodic table of history and get acquainted with time. In 2000 BC, Abraham acted out the plan. In 730 BC, Isaiah wrote the plan. In 586 BC, Jeremiah wrote about the plan. We have somewhere approximately AD 29, John the Baptist and God declared that Jesus would be the Lamb of God. And then in AD approximately 32, Jesus becomes the Lamb that was slain. So we presently read this transcript of multiple witnesses watching Jesus dramatize and fulfill the law and the prophets. As far as the prophets, we read this.
And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth.
So after all that and in the present, we now get the chance to believe in the Messiah and positively impact the world around us. That is incredible. I hope you go forth in victory, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Periodic Table of History. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. For more videos, click on the channel name.